As physiotherapists, we have a strong focus on exercise. However, does exercise actually help with pain? Many patients actually report that certain exercises can make their pain worse. So what is the right balance to strike with this? In this video, I'll be answering those questions so that you can help your patients become more active without overdoing things and leading to a flare-up in pain. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Mahin and I'm an advanced practice physiotherapist specialising in pain management based in the UK. On this channel, we explore lifestyle strategies and tools to help people manage pain and create healthier and happier lives. Today, I'll be answering the key question, is there a role for exercise for pain relief? So let's get into it. Exercise and physical activity is recommended treatment for a wide range of chronic pain conditions. As well as strong evidence for the positive effects that exercise can have on physical and mental health, there's also some evidence to support that exercise may have a role in pain relief. Today I'm going to be talking about exercise-induced hypoalgesia, and I'm going to go into a little bit more about how this works later on in the video. But for now, it is as the name suggests. It means a reduction in pain following exercise. So specifically looking at the evidence then for pain-free individuals, what we can see is a single session of exercise, whether that is aerobic exercise, resistance training, or isometric exercises, has been repeatedly observed that there is a reduction in pain sensitivity in pain-free individuals. And usually when the exercise is at an increased intensity or duration, it leads to a greater exercise-induced hypoalgesic response. It's also found that there's increases in pain thresholds at the non-exercising body parts. So if we're, let's say, exercising or training our legs, we also see an increase in pain thresholds in our upper body as well. However, a greater hypoalgesic response is seen closer to the exercising tissues. This observed exercise-induced hypoalgesia is very short-lasting though, and typically lasts between 5 to 30 minutes depending on which paper you're reading. There is also some evidence that those people who are more physically fit or who exercise more experience a greater exercise-induced hypoalgesia following some exercise. So having a look at some of the outcomes from a couple of studies here then, we note that treatment expectations influence outcomes quite significantly. But some studies have actually shown that the information given before starting some exercise can actually influence the amount of hypoalgesia that is felt following exercise. And this correlation between expectations and hypoalgesia after exercise is actually quite strong. But why is this relevant? Well, even in pain-free individuals who don't have any fear of worsening pain, the information given beforehand and the expectations they have about the exercise actually influences pain levels following exercise. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to compare everything I've just spoken about for what we see in the outcomes for pain-free individuals, and I'm going to compare that with individuals with chronic pain. So now when we look at the research that has studied pain after exercise in individuals with chronic pain, we can see that the effects following exercise are less consistent. It shows that a single session of exercise can sometimes lead to hypoalgesia, sometimes it leads to reduced hypoalgesia, so not as much as we saw in the pain-free individuals, and it can even also lead to hyperalgesia, which is increased pain after exercise. And opposite to what we saw with the pain-free individuals, for those with chronic pain, it's actually the lower intensity and lower duration of exercise that leads to a greater exercise-induced hypoalgesic response. And again, opposite to what we saw with pain-free individuals, when we're looking at studies done into those with chronic pain, findings suggest that actually exercising the non-painful body parts can produce more of a hypoalgesic response, even to the areas the person is experiencing pain. And that can be really important clinically, and that can be relevant for us in practice as well. Because if somebody isn't able to exercise their painful body area because it increases the pain, actually by exercising a different body part, a different form of exercise, like more aerobic type of exercise, can still produce a hypoalgesic response. One thing we do need to be aware of though from the literature is that hyperalgesia following exercise, so more pain after exercise, is more commonly seen with chronic widespread pain conditions such as fibromyalgia, because the pain is more centrally driven and has more of a nociplastic cause. Hypoalgesia following exercise is commonly observed in conditions such as patellofemoral joint pain, rheumatoid arthritis, and also shoulder pain. And this is because these presentations have more of a nociceptive pain response. And that's because the pain from these conditions may have more of a nociceptive contribution. Reduced exercise-induced hypoalgesia or hyperalgesia is more commonly seen in conditions such as fibromyalgia, chronic widespread pain, ME or chronic fatigue syndrome, whiplash-associated disorder, or painful diabetic neuropathies. And this is because pain in those conditions may have more of a nociplastic contribution. So why is there reduced exercise-induced hypoalgesia or even hyperalgesia in chronic pain? Well, it's common in individuals with chronic pain to have impaired pain modulation, especially if they're taking opioids. So individuals treated with opioids report less pain modulation, and this may be explained by the opioid-induced hyperalgesia, which leads to a reduction in central opioid receptor availability and hence less potential to modulate pain through opioidergic mechanisms. The exercise dose response relationship is different as well in individuals with chronic pain compared to pain-free individuals, because they would experience hypoalgesia at a lower intensity and duration, as I discussed earlier. This is because lower intensity exercise creates less input to the facilitated central pain mechanisms, which results in a net balance of pain inhibition and a reduction in the pain sensitivity after exercise. Thirdly, the negative expectations about the effect of exercise on pain levels can also significantly impact the amount of hypoalgesia that is felt after exercise. Most patients with chronic pain that are referred to an MDT for pain treatment do not expect exercises to cause less pain. In fact, the majority of them actually expect there to be more pain after exercise. So because of this entrenched negative beliefs about pain and exercise, more education and reassurance is needed before commencing rehab. And this is why we are now seeing a lot of pain neuroscience and pain education plus exercise being done, because the outcomes of the education plus exercise is far greater than exercise alone. The precise mechanisms of exercise-induced hypoalgesia are not known, or we need to know more about it at least. However, there are three potential explanations of how exercise-induced hypoalgesia may work. So one explanation is through the activation of the opioid and cannabinoid systems. The contraction of skeletal muscle increases the discharge of mechanosensitive afferents, which activates the central descending opioid pain pathways. Exercise also increases the release of endogenous cannabinoids. These opioid and cannabinoid pathways have receptors throughout the peripheral and central nervous system that can produce analgesia when stimulated. Another second explanation is the reduction in central nervous system sensitivity. Exercise can reduce temporal summation and increase thresholds to elicit the nociceptive withdrawal reflex. And of course, cognitive and psychosocial factors improve with exercise. And these things that can improve are things like pain self-efficacy, coping mechanisms, the fear around exercise itself, and also reduced anxiety and stress. So as an example, an improvement in mood can lead to more of a hypoalgesic response following exercise. And this has been supported through several studies that have actually shown that those with a higher level of catastrophization actually experience less hypoalgesia. As I mentioned, the precise mechanisms of hypoalgesia are not known, but there are several things that I've talked about here that are relevant potentially to chronic pain. Regular exercise is guideline recommended treatment for a wide range of chronic pain conditions, but the level of evidence for a positive effect of exercise on pain is generally quite low and mixed. Clinically relevant reductions in pain and pain sensitivity are often observed in 8 to 12 weeks of exercise therapy for those people with knee and hip osteoarthritis. But then there are also randomized controlled trials that show no difference between exercise therapy and passive sham therapy. However, it has been found that being more physically active actually leads to less pain following acute exercise for those people with chronic pain. Is it possible that sometimes we focus on exercise for pain relief when actually it's doing something else and having benefits on something else? That could be things like tissue changes, joint alignment, proprioception, cartilage changes, muscle strength, function, inflammation levels, whatever it might be, but perhaps not pain. Do we need to therefore reframe our aims and expectations about the benefits and effects exercise may have on someone with chronic pain? Here are some considerations for when you're working with people with chronic pain. Exercising non-painful body areas if possible, as well as using low-intensity exercises such as walking, may be useful as a first step. Individuals' beliefs, expectations, and exercise preferences should be assessed before exercise prescription for a more favourable outcome. These beliefs and expectations could also be modified through education or other interventions to improve pain responses to exercise. Combining exercise training and education has superior effects compared to exercise alone in individuals with chronic pain. If you work with people with chronic pain and found this video helpful, then be sure to watch the next video in this playlist here to find out more ways to help your patients with pain. If you are based in the UK and would like to find out more about face-to-face training days on topics like this, then feel free to directly message me on Instagram for more information on this. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you next week.